today, Prime Minister Modi has given a vision that by 2035, we need to have our own Sudarshan Chakra or a layered air defense. People think that any deal with Israel means it will automatically happen and everything, transfer of technology will take place in terms of technology, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, critical minerals, and all these things will happen. It won't happen automatically. Uh, this will need a tacit US approval, uh, and it has to be cleared by the Congress. Yesterday's news, as you mentioned about the jet engines, if it is true, because ultimately the proof of the pudding lies
Is
in
in
its
eating.
eating.
The Rafale, there is any problem in the Rafale deal in transfer of technology, then we might see that we might go for
Yes,
Su-57.
yes, I think that's a very logical conclusion, to the discussion. Has to be Iran centric. So, as far as India is concerned, the Sunni axis is basically Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, a defense alliance which has come about. That is a bit of a bother for India because right now Turkey also joins this kind of an axis. Prime Minister Modi is very proactive. You've seen he's going to Israel. Why is he going to Israel? Because he just wants to ensure that the next war with Pakistan is going to be a decisive one, and he wants to send a message to the world that it will be not like a 4-day war which has happened just now.
Hi, welcome to Podcast with Pratim. I have with me Major General, retired, and also a doctorate, Mr. Rajan Kochhar. We will discuss about the recent India-Israel Security Pact and a few other issues related to the defense acquisitions and capacity enhancement. Thanks for joining the show, sir.
Thank you very much, Pratim. Always a pleasure to be on your program.
Sir, first thing first, we hear a lot. We have already a lot of things are out. I have done a podcast with an Israeli scholar but I think we need to fade out a little more as to what is happening on ground. So how and where, first is please outline for the viewers, where did we gain out of the India-Israel Pact?
Okay, thank you, Pratim. Before I come to this question proper, uh, let us understand India's vulnerability and why Prime Minister Modi went to Israel. First of all, especially in times of like this, when Netanyahu is under a cloud, the International Court of Justice, the International Criminal Court has more or less declared him a war criminal. And most of the head of states, apart from the US and and also his allies, you are not visiting him at this point of time. And then there is a corruption case also which is going against him, and political instability in Israel is also there, and uh, a razor thin majority. He's you hanging by himself. You there. So the vulnerability India has today, and let me be very, very frank on this, is our defense capability. Uh, when we talk about capability, we also have to bring in intent, because intent and capability are two things which go side by side. You may have the intent. You may make a statement that we can capture Pak occupied Kashmir, but do you have the capability? Firstly. Second is the threat perception, because Prime Minister Modi is also seeing what is happening in the neighborhood. And he sees his relation with the United States slightly on the weaker side. So when we talk about Israel, it is also a message to United States that we want to mend the relationship with you, because as they a famous saying is there that the road to Washington DC goes through Tel Aviv. So many of the countries we have seen it happening that they want to mollycoddle Israel in order to be on the good books of the United States. And I think India is no exception. So the first important. Now you talk about strategic gains. What have we gained from this visit? See, today Prime Minister Modi has given a vision that by 2035 we need to have our own Sudarshan Chakra or a layered air defense. We have a project Kusha in the anvil, where we are developing three types of strikers, interceptors, M1, M2, M3. Uh, M1 is something like the Barak 8, which the Israel have given to us. It's a joint venture in India. And M2 is a middle of the path. We don't really have anything as of now, uh, between 150 to 200 odd kilometers to intercept. And in M3, it is something like that's 400 kilometers. So there is a capability void. And this capability void, possibly we want to negotiate with Israel's advanced air defense systems, something like the Iron Dome, Iron Beam, David Sling, and Arrow, Arrow 3 systems, which Israel has developed with the help of United States. So let me tell you one interesting thing here, and for the viewers also to understand that any technology transfer or joint production in terms of long range missiles, loitering ammunition is also a part of it. Herob drones and of the kind, and the Heron drones, which we use in Operation Sindoor, they come with a kind of a mixed bag. And the mixed bag is that you have to have approval of United States, because the United States has been involved in technology, in joint production, in financial support to Israel in the manufacture of all these interceptors. And therefore, uh, in the broader strategic terms, I think people are not aware about this, because people think that any deal with Israel means it will automatically happen and everything, transfer of technology will take place in terms of technology, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, critical minerals, and all these things will happen. It won't happen automatically. Uh, this will need a tacit US approval, uh, and it has to be cleared by the Congress in the United States. So uh, the practical impact of this, all this thing is that it is still a work in progress. So don't take it like that it is going to happen and all of a sudden. So when we talk about air defense,
That was
this will.
actually my, that was, I thought of asking you that
Oh,
there were, that these clauses are there
yeah.
about if it is developed by the US or co-developed by the US, so the US laws, of course, will restrict you from doing whatever you want with that, right? So, so that said, whether so it means that still has a long way to go to get the support of the US Congress.
Yes, yes.
And we have so we have just seen the back and forth on the Rafale deal, which we wanted in our way, but probably there is a hitch. So how should we negotiate that? Of course, we have a standing offer from Russia on SU series. Over to you, sir.
Yes, this is interesting your question, because it also is related to technology. because I mentioned to you AI, quantum, cyber security is another area where the technology is emerging, and a US initiative on critical and emerging technology, ISET, and of course Trump calls it a trust now, and different names, but old wine in a new bottle. So it is very important here to understand for all the researchers and analysts here that things are not going to happen. A visit takes place, and there is a euphoria in the media, and people think it's a landmark you visit and all. It has its own intangibles here, and is Rafael is also has actually offered to answer your question. Rafael is also offered for joint production in India. Uh, there is a uh, there is an order for 114 Rafales, which has been cleared by the
Of course, that was a sweetener. I mean, it works for us, and it was a
yeah,
sweetener for Rafale that we
yeah,
are giving you a long-term contract.
yeah.
So that if you set up the base over here, you won't have to worry about for the orders for next 5 years.
Yeah,
So,
you see, what is happening here is the Russians are also in the fray. So don't, because you mentioned Su-57 also, because the Russians are also in the fray, because the Russians offered even better terms and conditions to you than the Rafale has offered you. So that is why France is now in a hurry to conclude these deals with India, because there is a competitor now. US is out of the F-35 is out of the question now.
out of the question.
So it is now Su-57 and Rafale. Since Rafale is already there with the Indian Air Force, it's already been, uh, uh, amalgamated into the system, the trainings, etc. Everything has been done, and the system has been tested. So we would be more comfortable having Rafael with us, because that is what the Air Force also, if you take the Air Force viewpoint also, they also feel more comfortable to have Rafael, and Mirage 2000 has been an earlier experience of India with the France, which has been a good experience. So they would like to you consolidate here, because you see what happens is that if you have too much of inventory, and if you have too much of diversification of inventory, all the uh, uh, more maintenance issues come up, supply chain issues come up, and with the Russians especially, seeing the present flux in which Russia is there, and seeing the bad experience we have had with Russians with S-400, because S-400 Russia has not delivered the entire. Still, two squadrons have to come, and we want five more. And the euphoria of the visit of Putin and all, after that, it has actually worn out now. And the problems we are facing in maintenance of the legacy equipment. You see, nobody talks about this legacy equipment, which is very important, because 70% of the Indian armed forces is having that Russian legacy equipment, and the spares are not forthcoming. It's taking a very long time. The tank T-72, T-90, Sukhoi 30 upgrade, Sukhoi 30 upgrade also has been delayed. So, do we get into a partnership with a country who has not been able to honor the existing agreements or the existing supply chain mechanisms, because unfortunately that country is at war. So you really can't blame Russia as such, but then the circumstances in which Russia is there, and in times to come, I don't visualize any great relationship between US and Russia. And considering Russia's vulnerability in its own region, this problem, a geopolitical problem, is going to remain. So I think it is better to align yourself with a NATO country, and especially when you want to deepen your relationship with the United States. it is one thing that you don't want to deepen, and it is the second thing that you want to diversify, because you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So our experience with the US also has not been very good. Jet engines is one
You
example.
know, if I just, I actually have two questions over here, very quick questions, and I expect you to give quick answer. One is
Okay.
Russia, irrespective of whatever the current problem is, and whatever, as you are rightly pointing out, that the US-Russia problem will remain. In fact, after US-Russia, there will be rivalries between US and Russia and China are not dead. Let us remember that. So,
Yes.
so there are issues, of course, but Russia remained a very steady friend, and we are committed to increase the exchanges with Russia. That is already set under the framework. So that said, is number one, is there a scope? I understand why France is being lured into, because we see we already got Airbus investment into plane manufacturing, right? And as you were talking about the US side, one interesting story that came up yesterday is that yesterday or day before is that finally GE will start delivering engines in you know in the right schedule. So probably something has happened over there. But is there an chance or opportunity that we might have two producers over here, both Rafale and Su-57s?
You see, there is a lot of talk in the media about it. Like the media, if you just open, you will find that India may be inclined for both Su-57 as well as Rafale. Uh, but I have my doubts, because in case this yesterday's news, as you mentioned about the jet engines, if it is true, because ultimately the proof of the pudding lies
Is
in
in
its
eating.
eating. So let it come. And because if these jet engines are going to come, the Tejas project is going to get revived. And if Tejas is going to get revived, then AMCA also will get revived. So uh, in the long term, I don't think Su-57 would be a good bet under the present circumstances, when we are talking about Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat. We want to have our own technology, our own everything.
So the
So
only
I
thing is that if the Rafale, there is any problem in the Rafale deal in transfer of technology, then we might see that we might go for
yes,
Su-57.
yes, I think that's a very logical conclusion, to the discussion.
Right. Thank you, sir. Uh, Sir, this the joint statement had a point. In point five, it says, I quote, new initiatives on critical and emerging technologies. So this is ISET,
Absolutely.
led by the national security advisors of the two countries. So it is clearly new technologies which are for defense or security usage. What are
Absolutely.
they, sir?
See, now you have to view this in terms of the Hexagon Alliance, which is actually coming about. Because these are basically related to counterterrorism. And both Israel and India are working towards a joint architecture to you combat counter terrorism. And we are aware that Mossad has got a very good systems in place where they can monitor each and everything far away also. And the intelligence network is also very, very strong. So I think we will tend to gain from this. You I won't call it an alliance. I would just call it a kind of a partnership, because it's not an alliance, because India actually doesn't get into any kind of security alliances or military alliances with any a country, because it's against our stated policy of strategic autonomy. So I think it is more to do with collaboration and sharing of information, sharing of intelligence. And these technologies, what we are seeing, is being extensively used in the by the terrorists in the Jammu and Kashmir Valley also. We have seen that they have got these apps which are standalone and they can communicate with each other without being interfered upon.
I think
And
I'm getting some hint from your thing. We saw during Pahalgam attack that the terrorists use sat phones, and sat phones are very difficult to
so
track down.
So we are trying to get into a technology with Israel that we'll be able to track down these conversations or this your exchange of information between the handlers and the terrorists, which possibly today is a gray area as far as we are concerned. So I think that's where the NSAs are coming into the play because here is a larger concern as far as India is concerned because the Bangladesh is also one of the concerns we have with us, and the way the ISI is expanding its footprints in Bangladesh. So I think Israel is one country where we share common concerns as far as terrorism is concerned, and this technology which Israel has in terms of cyber, in terms of stealth, you will be able to use it.
Thanks, sir. So we are towards the end of this discussion, and I will ask you I'll now take you to a little, I mean, you spoke about Hexagon Alliance. Part of it is already in place. Part of it means that we already have Cyprus, Greece, etc. in the fold. So something is already cooking there. And the sole purpose or the prime purpose of the Hexagon Alliance is about resisting the Sunni axis, right? So that is what India-Israel thing is also focus. I mean, has a good purpose on it. So how how serious is the threat of the Sunni axis?
This is a more relevant to Israel than to India because India has not made any statement on Sunni axis.
Right.
It's a statement emanating from Israel. India has not commented. So maybe our external affairs spokesperson may like to comment that why this issue came up in discussion. Because unless it came up in discussion, Israel would not be commenting on it, though India has not commented. So as far as our Sunni axis is actually concerned, we are more, worried about, and in loosely, it is not only Sunni axis, it is the Shia and Sunni axis. Because don't forget Iran is in the equation, because anything which will going to affect Israel has to be Iran centric. So as far as India is concerned, the Sunni axis is basically Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, a defense alliance which has come about. That is a bit of a bother for India because right now Turkey also joins this kind of an axis. So that is why this hexagon alliance is more or less there to blunt this axis, because if you have uh, it, this thing, Greece and Cyprus, it is mostly Turkey centric because Greece and Cyprus have got their problems with Turkey. And that's how these alliances are
Israel also
shaping
has
up.
an old enmity.
Yeah, and Israel has also old enmity. So from that point of view, I think it is more to do with Israel and less to do with India.
Right. But Turkey is going to be a headache to us because it has been active in the neighborhood, in the Bangladesh, Pakistan issue. So let's see where it goes. Sir, before we wrap up, I think we will do injustice if we don't talk about what's happening on Pakistan-Afghanistan front, sir. How serious it can get into. And Pakistan is fighting a twin battle. On the one hand, there are Balochs, and then in the north, there are this Afghanistan. So how serious things can turn. And, Afghanistan, where the place where Russians and Americans have beaten the dust. So things are a little scary that way.
Yeah, I agree with this problem of Pakistan and Afghanistan is a recurring problem, and it is not going to get resolved because the differences are such between the two countries. Two major differences are there. One is the Durand line, which Pakistan wants to divide itself away from Afghanistan, which Afghanistan says that the people living across are Pashtuns in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Baluchistan. They cannot be divided. And that point of contention, I don't think will be accepted by Pakistan. Second is that all these strikes which are taking place in Pakistan, TTP, the ISIS, Khorasan, or etc., they have their bases in Afghanistan. So Pakistan is concerned because if you see in the last 1 year, Pakistan has lost more than 1,000 security officers and men, and it is causing a dent in the morale of the Pakistan army, and that is why these airstrikes are happening. So I think this is not going to blow out into an all-out war because a conventional war, seeing the terrain in Afghanistan, Pakistan would not like to venture inside Afghanistan. So we can rule out a conventional war. It is more to do with the striking terrorist bases or some military targets are there. But what is my concern is that Afghanistan has nothing to lose in this war, and Pakistan has everything to lose. And my concern is that it is going to escalate internally into Pakistan because Afghanistan always has believed in a asymmetric warfare, a hybrid warfare, a proxy warfare. And what Pakistan was doing in Jammu and Kashmir is now going to happen with the Pakistan in Islamabad, Karachi, and Rawalpindi. And these are very sensitive locations as far as Pakistan is concerned, because most of the Pakistan army, you are aware, is Punjabi and from Rawalpindi and all these areas. And GHQ is also in Rawalpindi. So they are going to target military convoys. There be sniper action. There is going to be a problem in Baluchistan, and China is worried because the CPEC is stuck. America is worried because America has got the crypto deal and so-called rare earth elements and all that happening. So it is going to impact the interest of USA and China, and that is why this is my analysis that Pakistan is not going to escalate the issue.
Uh, on this, on my podcast, you said some time ago, quite a few months ago, that that was after a post-Sindhu discussion, that we are getting ready for another war with Pakistan within an year. That was,
Yes,
from our
you are.
readiness point of view.
Yes, yes.
So all these things, this Afghanistan, Pakistan issue, and these things, the Balochistan issue. So does that delay that possibility?
It
Because
does
as you
not delay
said, that
that
Pakistan has
possibility as
everything
a
to
matter of.
lose. It will keep fighting. It will waste its resources, uh, the money, most importantly. It's not a rich economy. So how about it?
You see, Pakistan has got some very rich friends, and Pakistan will continue to get this kind of an aid because Afghanistan is on the bad books of the US, and especially after the Bagram your airbase not being given. And you just heard the President Trump's statement in the morning when somebody asked him that, "Are you going to intervene in Afghanistan and stop this war?" You know what he said? Shabash Sharif is a very, very close friend of mine. He's a dear friend. General Munir is a fantastic person, and I wish them all the best. So if that is the attitude of the US, So I think US is very, very happy, or it may be actually fueling this war as far as Pakistan is concerned. And I don't think it is going to dent on financial or the economic angle of Pakistan. But at the same time, if Pakistan resorts to any kind of a misadventure in the form of a terrorist attack in India, I think then we have a possibility of the next war on the horizon, and that is why Prime Minister Modi is very proactive. If you've seen, he's going to Israel. Why is he going to Israel? Because he just wants to ensure that the next war with Pakistan is going to be a decisive one, and he wants to send a message to the world that it will be not like a 4 day war which has happened just now.
Thanks to you, sir. Thanks for good insights. I hope we will meet again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Pratim. It was a wonderful session. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.